we decided we're going to have a screaming competition walking up this big hill that went back up from town to our accommodation. And so going up this hill, there we are at the top of our voices at 1 o'clock in the morning. And you know now that I'm that cranky old bastard who's just like,
Who are those kids? Who are those kids making noise out there? Gee, it's annoying, pet. Well, you can't get any sleep around this place these days. Ugh.
Hey, good morning, how are ya? It's a beautiful day out here. Welcome to Fremantle. In fact, fascinating fact, right here is the one and only South Fremantle rubbish dump. That's right. This is where it all happened, people. All the shit that we threw away ends up right there. It's actually a pretty spectacular morning though. Just going down in the distance there is a big old fat full moon. And over there, it's a pretty magical little sunrise starting to happen just back there. Check it out. It's my first time getting up early in about 9 weeks. We've been here in Fremantle just to take a bit of a pause from this big trip around Australia. And sorry, we haven't been for a walk recently, have we? It's just been nice to actually sleep in. But before we hit the road today, I wanted to take you and show you this beautiful place just down the road here. A bit of a chat. And how are you anyway? If you're a new friend or an old friend, drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear about what's going on in your world. So let's get going. It's a beautiful day. Well, here it is. This has been home. Like the last 9 weeks. It's not too bad, is it? I must admit, when we decided that we were going to stay in Fremantle for a while, you know, have an experience like living somewhere, even if it's only for like a couple of months, I didn't think it was going to be like this. You know, I knew Fremantle was on the coast, founded back in like the late 1820s off the top of my head, and now it's like a massive port. It's one of the biggest ports on the West Australian coast, so you got a lot of shipping that comes in and out of this place. But just look at it, I don't know. These beaches are absolutely stunning. It's been such a pleasure being here. It's one of those things, you know, I guess just like people, we make a lot of assumptions about places. In this case, I kind of thought Fremantle would be a great place to be just because it's a little bit, and when we visited there just for a day trip or two as part of work, it's kind of a little bit grungy, like inner city hipster vibe, good bars and cafes. That's kind of what I was expecting and how I remembered it. But in the end, life here in Freo has been much more about like the beach right there than it has been about inner city cafes. I guess it's gotten me thinking, you know, that it's almost like places have two sides. There's the side you experience when you just drop in there for coffee or for a couple of days to experience it, you know, just to check out the highlights. And then there's the places, you know, there's the place, the destination that's under the surface. You know, you got to spend a bit of time trying to discover what that is. For us, there's a bakery just up that way, which we absolutely love, which is called Wild Bakery, and does really great patisseries and all that kind of stuff. And it's been nice ending up going there pretty much every day, because you kind of feel like you're part of Fremantle. You know, this is like your little place now, the place that you always go, and it makes you really feel like a local. But you need time in order to kind of get into that vibe where the shop owners know you and say good morning and ask you questions about, you know, how was your week and things like that. Years ago, I was in Oxford in the UK doing my student exchange program, and I met heaps of people from all around the world, as you do on these student exchange programs, and that's why they're so amazing. And this one night, me and a couple of friends were coming home from being out in town, having a couple of drinks, and I don't know, just doing some stupid thing like 20-year-olds like to do. We decided we're going to have a screaming competition walking up this big hill that went back up from town to our accommodation. And so going up this hill, there we are at the top of our voices at 1 o'clock in the morning. And you know now that I'm that cranky old bastard who's just like,
Who are those kids? Who are those kids making noise out there? Gee, it's annoying, pet. Well, you can't get any sleep around this place these days.
Anyway, so we had our screaming competition, right? I did not win. But then after we left, like after my friends left, I walked back down that hill to go to the shops. And to my shock, the screams were there. You know, like the memories of those screams were there. Like that moment where we had so much fun was now part of the place. And suddenly it struck me as utterly incredible that everywhere you go, you know, here at the dog beach at South Fremantle, there will be people who will have memories that they buried in the sand here. And only they can get them back. Only they can come in here and dig them up out of the beach. Or they have to share that sort of special key with you and share that memory so that when you come here, you can dig that memory up too. But all these places, everywhere, right, have got those memories, those feelings, those ghosts buried and hidden. Also back in Oxford, at the bottom of that hill, there was a supermarket. And maybe 8 or 10 years after I finished my exchange program, I was back in Oxford and I just happened to be at that supermarket to get some food. And the lady who was there checking me out was the same one, you know, amongst hundreds who would have served me when I was there on my exchange program. And it was strange, right? Because we move on in our lives, we move forward, and we kind of forget that, you know, some people are just living their life and that's their place, that's their reality, their day in, their day out. And I was all shocked to like find her there like 8 or 10 years later. And I remember saying to her, like, hey, you've been here a long time, haven't you? And she said, yeah, I've been here a very long time. How do you know? And I told her I was here on exchange, you know, many years ago, and I remember you. And I'll never forget, you know, the smile, the kind of, all shocked, you know, happy smile that kind of hit her face, because she suddenly realised that somebody had remembered her, even though, you know, that's the kind of job that most people don't even really pay attention to the person who's serving them, and yet here was somebody many years later remembering who she was. So for us, it's always important to remember that, like, places and people, we have these like breadcrumbs that we leave everywhere when we go places, and years later you'll come and pick those up, you'll unbury them, and it's magic. But then also, for all of us, sometimes we feel like we're anonymous, like nobody's noticing, nobody cares. But it's not true. Somebody's always noticing, right? And you'll be shocked at just when somebody might pop back into your life and say, hey, I remember you. Thanks for the work you did back then. Anyway, beautiful day. Now, I've got to say goodbye to this place. But I'm going to go hit the road, so it's not a bad alternative. Whatever you're getting up to, I hope it's a good one. I'm Rob Leakey, and I'll see you next time on The Morning Walk. Thanks for joining me.